Hey everybody, welcome to week 4 in the series You Asked For It. This past weekend, talked about everybody's favorite subject. Talked about politics. Of course, there are two things that you're never supposed to talk about with people, and those two things are, politics and religion. And of course, this past week we talked about both. You're welcome. This is going to be a fun group. As always, anytime I talk about politics in the church, which is extremely rare, I don't talk about politics in church. Why? Because I'm just trying to get people into heaven. You know what I'm saying? And as soon as I talk about politics, half the crowd's going to shut down on me. And by the way, everybody always wants to know, is Chad a Republican or a Democrat? And I kind of try to say things to not let you in on where I'm at. Okay? I tend to be conservative on most issues, but I'm not conservative on all issues. I try to ask myself, not what's political, but what's biblical. So if you're sitting around wondering if you can put me in a box, you can't. I'm not going to fit. And I'm going to encourage you not to fit in a box either, because the question would be, right, is Jesus a Democrat or a Republican? Well, Jesus is not a Republican. And Jesus is not a Democrat, and here's why. Jesus is not an American. Wrap your mind around that reality. Okay? I mentioned this last week in the small group video. If you're a follower of Jesus, you don't live in a democracy or a republic. You live in a monarchy where Jesus is king. And so as followers of Jesus, I would encourage you to not put your hope in politics. Maybe turn off political radio every once in a while. That's not helping you have hope in the kingdom of God and what he's doing in the world. That will depress you quickly. And I'm going to ask you to put all of your hope in Jesus and to represent him well. But with that, we do live in a society where we want to vote, and we want to vote our conscience, and we want to vote within the context of the best options we've been given. And sometimes that's not a problem that you can solve or I can solve. It's a tension that we have to manage. But the Bible commands us to do a couple of things. One of those I'm going to ask you to do today. One of the things that the Bible commands us to do is to pray for our leaders. And here's the challenge. There are times in our society when we have leaders that we agree with, and there are times in our society when we have leaders that we disagree with. There are times in our society that we have leaders that we're proud of, and there are times in our society when we have leaders that we're not proud of. But the Bible tells us, regardless of how you feel about it, to pray for those who have authority in the realm of government over us. I had a friend not too long ago, and they kind of snuck up on him, but our president showed up in the church and asked for prayer. And so this guy's kind of a well-known pastor, and he prayed for him. And there were people excited about that in the church, and there were people upset about that in the church. I just want you to know, as long as God has a sense of humor and allows me to serve as pastor of Sun Valley, any president who showed up at our doorstep and wanted prayer, whether I agreed with them or not, whether I was honored by their presence, just because they're president, but personally how I felt is irrelevant. Any president that ever showed up on our doorstep and wanted prayer, I'm going to pray for him. You know why? Because that's what the Bible tells me to do. And so here's how we're going to start in this discussion today about politics. I'm going to start by encouraging you to take a moment and to pray for our president, to pray for our governor, to pray for those who are in authority in the government over us. And so I'm going to ask you, small group leaders, would you start a prayer time with praying for those who are in leadership in our country. And after you pray, then we'll dive into the discussion. I love you guys. Let's follow Jesus. No matter who is president, Jesus is king. And there's great hope in that. Love you guys. Have a great group. Please open in prayer, and then you'll begin discussion. God bless you guys.